interesting things about trading Forex is that you don't actually know exactly which trade is going to be a crazy winner or just another loss.
What's up, everybody? We are currently live.
We'll take away the weekly.
Trace back down to the order block because that price is going to be bullish.
Point sort of chasing the market. I was more than happy to stay flat.
Hello everyone. With the kangaroo pelt.
Always recommend trading on the 5 minute.
Some of these exotic pairs, pretty steady uptrend, making these higher highs and higher.
Mostly trend following the stimulus in a certain way.
Hey everybody, hope you're well. I hope everybody's trading is going well. Thanks again to Nick and A1 Trading Team for having me back. Appreciate it. Hope everybody is okay. So before I get into my actual stream, I'm going to talk about this Euro Swiss, or get into the indexes, the dollar, etc., and what I'm looking at. I've just taken this trade on the Euro Swiss. Yeah, I'll go into that. I'll go through my watch list, and if you want me to look at anything, I'll put it in the chat and have a look at it at the end of my watch list. But yeah, I want to go into this Euro Swiss. So I've just taken this long, and on account of this particular setup here. Now, if you've watched my streams before, you'll know one of my favorite patterns or contexts is the cut with handle, right? Divina, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Hi, how you doing, mate? How's everybody? How are you? But we've got this context here, cut with handle, nice corrective push through, and notice this push through was on high volume, and we've entered into what I consider a steady state retest, right? And it actually is a lovely steady state retest. There's no really bars there that are really taking control, lowering volume as well during that retest, which is again is what I like to see. Mark, how you doing, mate? And I took this trade on this rejection candle here, roughly around that 20 SMA. Typically it's coming off now, but anyway, it's fine. Roughly around that 20 SMA, that rejection candle on a bit of volume to take that to the upside. And even if I hadn't have taken it on that candle, I would have taken it on this one, just preceding it right now, because that is a lovely hammer again on high volume. So breakout, retest of that area, and this is my catalyst for entry to go long, using that 20, using that resistance period. I think if we hadn't have gotten this price action previously, right, I might not have taken it because we've got a few tags of this level here. So I always like to see at least 2 tags of a particular level. Ideally, this would have come up here and then corrected and pushed through. We didn't get that, but it was enough as a context, certainly with a nice retest here, to let me take that trade long. So Euro Swiss to the upside. Context, remember, if I'm taking a trade, I normally like to look at least ×2 time frames above for my higher time frame confluence. The Euro's been pushing at a nice corrective here to the 20. Good rejection bar of that 200, 20 starting to curl up, and again, going with the momentum, going with that trend on Euro Swiss long was something that I kind of liked. Daily as well has looked good, broken through this resistance area, potentially new support, and for me, I see a bit of clear air there up into roughly about this area, and our TP is just before that anyway. So yeah, I like that trade. I like Euro Swiss to the upside. The stocks are kind of push on a bit, which you would expect the Swiss to fall off a little bit, the Swiss and the yen to probably fall off a bit, being a risk-off currencies. I do, in the interim, expect some dollar potential weakness as a corrective, which should probably help the euro. So yeah, I like that trade technically. I like it fundamentally, and I'm in that right now. So Euro Swiss. Again, my stop location is always underneath the previous swing to get it, just give it a little bit of room to move. Previously, if I had taken it on this particular candle, my stop would have been underneath the candle. But I found doing back testing And I'll go into backtesting and how I backtest after my kind of watch list. I found out during backtesting that this was just a little bit too tight, right? Because it's some of the times I'd notice come down, stop me out, and then head in that, desired direction, or the direction that I wished I wanted. So doing my backtesting and finding out that results, moving it to the previous swing, although I don't make as much money, I win a lot more trades. So that's where I usually put my stop loss, and my TP1 is at 1-to-1 risk reward. And the reason why I like that 1-to-1 is if we do go up and hit TP, it's essentially a risk-free trade. So if we hit TP and then come down and hit our stop, you just make nothing from it. So psychologically, I kind of like that. My second trade is just moving my stop above the swings. So every time we get a swing, if we have a push up, if we have a push up here, corrective, and again, push through, I just continue to move my stops like this. I don't normally get loads out of them. I don't have huge winners, but time and time again, you do get those trades that just run and run and run and run. And that's what I kind of sit patiently and wait for. Normally, I might get a swing out of it, possibly 2 swings out of it. But, you're not going to get your 5, 6, 7-to-1s every single trade. And I guess the saying is go for the home run, but take a single. And that's what I normally like to do in my trading. Take a little bit and keep building up. So Euro Swiss, I do like to the upside, and it's in now. I can't do anything about it. If it wins, it wins. It loses, it loses. That's all part of the game we play. And yeah, I'm happy with that. So going to the index, this SPX, looks okay. I haven't liked it for quite some time. And really what I feel is trading over this last, what I calculated to my group was, probably 32, 33 days. For me, there's been no real fluidity. We want this, don't we? This is what we want in the indexes, that kind of fluidity. And that for me is when, I make my money. On gold, I'll look at gold after, I'll look at gold after and CAD yen. If you want me to look anything, just let me know. But for me, as a trend continuation kind of trader, this has just been pretty rotten. I haven't, there's been a lot of fake outs, a lot of choppy market conditions, just indicative of those quiet markets. So the daily chart on the SPX actually looks not bad. Getting a potential V reversal here. If I was being picky, I would prefer on the smaller time frames, possibly the 4-hour, to have a little bit of a reload here, just to kind of make this impulse and this trend to the upside a bit healthier. Because we run the risk of, if we do break through, a potential loss of momentum and a bit of a harder reset. So even though on a daily chart it looks okay, I just think to make it a bit healthier from my perspective, for a break into all-time highs, I would prefer just a little bit of a reload here and let that 20 catch up before the SPX to go long. So that's my personal bias. If it wants to go long, I'm fine with that. That's okay. Breaking into all-time highs, like I said, the daily chart looks not bad. And look where we came down on this kind of reset. I do look for this kind of a lot of times, time and time again, where you see the markets coming down into potential locations where possibly retail stops are, a lot of stops are, tag them out, and we go in that intended direction, which is one of the reasons why, as part of my context prior to the break. So I'm a breakout trader, a breakout retest trader. I like what's called a V reversal, right? Normally, if you see these V reversals in line with trend, so you've got an uptrending market and you get a V reversal here, you've probably got a lot of stops roughly around this, at the place that V reversal was, and then the market goes that way. So I don't know if you guys have been trapped a few times by that, but for me, possibly we're getting something like that with the SPX here. And I do think we break through. I just hope we have a little reload before we do, personally. So I've kind of classed it as neutral / slight risk on. And if we break through it, you'd have to go risk on, but probably with a little bit of caution. Euro Swiss tested R1 pivot and coming down. Yeah, I mean, Okay, yeah, from that's from your perspective. Every trader is different. You know, I just trade what I see. I trade my strategy, and I go with it. I don't really use pivot levels, to be honest with you. Mainly price action. But again, if you're short the Euro Swiss and I'm long the Euro Swiss, fine. You know, it's that's what it is. That's the strategy that I've tested. That's the strategy that works for me, and that's what I go with. The dollar. So the dollar here, what I've been saying is you kind of got to look at on the daily chart. Really, we've had this big impulse to this, big uptrending move. You've got to say it's changed trend, breaking through all these anchors. You know, you kind of have to say that. There's a massive gap here between the 20 and price action. So the 20 period for me is just kind of a visual guide to to make sure I'm getting into moves just when they start rather than buying stuff when it's extended, etc. So that 20 period, if I see a gap there, these gaps usually like to be filled. If we look at this daily chart, we got pull back to a 20, pull back to a 20, pull back to a 20 here. So I think we get the same thing roughly on the dollar right now, where we're just in corrective mode. So I think maybe, intraday for the next few days, you may see some rangy price action on the dollar, but ultimately for me, it's a corrective. And then you've got to say continuation to the upside once it has digested this move to the upside. Things can't go up forever, right? That's unsustainable. It's unhealthy for trends like this just to continue. Hi, Mark. I'm an Elliott Wave analyst. However, your structure is out. Yeah. Do you know, I could never resonate with Elliott Wave. I watched a few videos on it, and a lot of good traders use it and use it very well. You're probably the same, Mark. But for me, I just couldn't. It just wouldn't resonate with me. And I watched a few videos and said, "That's not for me." But a lot of traders, trade it very well. My and this could be completely wrong, Mark, but my opinion on it was I didn't know it was an Elliott Wave until it was an Elliott Wave, if you know what I mean. Like, again, that could be completely wrong, but that's just what I thought. But anyway, yeah, for me, the dollar corrects and continuation to the upside. I was looking at Aussie New Zealand today as a breakout retest to go short. However, it's kind of fallen away a little bit. I was looking at it roughly downtrend. What do you mean, disciplined trader? On a downtrend? The dollar's on a downtrend. For me, it's on a corrective. I was looking at this AUD NZD at this point in time, and it was kind of correcting quite nicely. For me, breakout retest, I like a steady state or a complex corrective, preferably an ABC. And I was looking for this to come and retest that area. Now, if I had gotten this bar right up here, it's probably something that I could have taken, but it just kind of failed away, which is what I've found the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks is difficult for me. It's been difficult for me to get a trade. It is to find a setup. It's been quite difficult. CAD yen is in. Okay, I'll do CAD yen after this. Disciplined trader. But yeah, I was looking at Aussie NZD. This is not a bad context here. Cut with handle, couple bars of reload, broken through that 200. And I may still get it on the 4-hour here as a retest. The context there is quite good. The only thing that I've found with this is I'm also looking at it long on the daily, on this larger V reversal here. Nice corrective. So what I'm looking at the daily is this kind of reload and to take that to the upside on Aussie New Zealand. And really there's not been much for me today. There's not been much for me this week. I don't know if you guys are the same. Are you guys trading a lot? Have you had a lot of setups? Potentially if you're a range trader or support and resistance trader, you could be making a decent bit of money during this time. But have you guys been, how's your trading been this month? Is anybody making money? I hope you are. CAD yen. So I'll go into CAD yen. Who asked me about CAD yen? Disciplined trader. CAD yen is in a downtrend. Is it? Doesn't look like a downtrend to me. Good month. Well done. I've had my worst month in about 8 months, Mark. No, this is not in a downtrend. at all. It's just in a corrective. If you're looking at it, I'm not trading it. Obviously, I don't have a position on, but it just looks to me like it's in a corrective mode from this big impulse. I like the premise of it, of CAD yen longs. I fancy the CAD to gain some strength, and certainly the yen to fall off a bit if that SPX does break through and breaks through with kind of gusto. So the premise of it's there, but you just got to let it digest. If I was a pullback trader, possibly you put your fib onto it and look for those key levels of price correcting back into it. For me, I take it from the bottom here. I probably wouldn't take it from there. I would take my fib from here, and it just kind of needs to correct, roughly around what I call the 40-60 box, just because it's easier to say. Correction into there to continue to the upside. So yeah, CAD yet. I wouldn't be, put it this way, I wouldn't be trading it right now, but I wouldn't be shorting it. I wouldn't be selling it, no. Took me 6 years. So you've been trading, okay, so I've been trading 6 years as well, Mark. How long have you been profitable? How long did it take you to become profitable? Because it took me 2.5 years to become profitable. Lost $5 on gold. I make 3%, but go back to 2%. That's fine. That's good risk management. I personally believe. Look, 3%. You have to remember that a good trader probably makes between 2 to 5 on average. I wouldn't say every single month because I'm down this month, but probably, if you take it as a quarterly number or probably an annual number is the best place to kind of think about your average return. So going from 3% back to 2% is perfect. Shows that your risk management is good and your discipline is good. So well done. 4 years. Yeah, it's fair enough, Mark. That's I respect anybody who's been in the markets for more than 3 years, because I know how difficult it is, and a lot of people quit in that time. So if you've been in there 6 years, fair play, mate. I know it has its shares of ups and downs, and a lot of people aren't here, or a lot of people aren't trading 3 years into it at least. So well done on that. Is there anything else you want me to look at? Blew loads of here. I don't know how many accounts I blew. I probably say it might have been 10. I want to say the number 10 probably comes to mind. Thankfully, I blew one very large account. So I blew an $80,000 account once. I sold a property here in the UAE, a kind of rental property I had, and I put a lot of money in. This is when I was learning, and I put a video on my trading journey on my YouTube, by the way, if you want to look at it. But I thought I was kind of almost at the point where I was profitable. And I thought the only thing holding me back was the lack of access to capital. I didn't know about funded equity at this time. So I had the bright idea of selling that, my rental property, and saying, if I put that into my trading account, I'm not going to be silly anymore. And I'll have the right risk management because I'll make enough money. But wow, how wrong I was. That account with 80 grand, and that ended up being blown in a matter of months. So that was probably the worst. That was the worst time in my trading career when I blew that account. Because I think I told the story before. That was one of the accounts where I lost 20 grand in 12 minutes or 20 minutes once. And I ironically was, so when I had that, I'll tell you the story. When I had that 80 grand account, it got down to $16,000, right? So this account went down to $16,000, and I was a mess. Like, my head was gone. I was probably literally depressed. Like, I didn't want to get out of bed. And so it got down to $16,000. And that month, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was in March because it was nice weather here in Dubai. So it must have been a February, March or something. And I got it back up to 30 grand, right? And I thought I cracked it. Like, honestly, I was so happy. I went and celebrated over the weekend. I'm like, right, I've finally done it. I've got it back up to 30 grand. And that was at the end of the month. So I had that weekend break. So I was always at my most dangerous after a winning week or after a great day or whatever. I was always at my most dangerous after those winning runs. Because, ego would get to my head and say, bang, Lamborghini's coming, in the next couple of months, Range Rover, Lambos, Rolexes, etc. Obviously, that's not the case. And I got this account up to 30 grand. I had my weekend and it started off a new month. And over trading, you know, I got to the Monday, couldn't wait to make a trade because I thought I was invincible. I thought everything that I touched would turn into gold. And obviously a few losses started to creep in on the Monday, on the Tuesday as well, taking trades I shouldn't have taken. And again, I started going down, over risked, and I got down to the point where it was like 20,000 after a week. So everything I'd done in the month before, which is great, had been lost, you know, in the next week. And then probably a couple of weeks after that, that whole account was blown. It was just gone. So yeah, that was very difficult. That was very difficult of me blowing my big account. Huge learning curve and experience. Yeah, and massively expensive. It's never a loss; it's a lesson, right? But you know, I took a lot of lessons, a lot of expense. So, pound dollar. Okay, have a look at pound dollar. Pound dollar, I presume you're looking to the downside. I would just be a little bit, I know the news was a bit dovish out of the pound. I would just be a bit wary of selling the pound. I mean, maybe I'm biased. I just kind of like pound longs, but selling it against the dollar makes sense. For me, pound dollar just looks to be corrective and possibly breaking out of this corrective for continuation to the downside. Technically, that's what you possibly think. You know, I do expect some dollar strength coming possibly next month. But again, I would just be a bit wary for me personally selling the pound. I think it's a bit of an overreaction. I think that sell-offs, you know, and possibly it's finished now. You know, you look at the smaller time frames, possibly that momentum or that sell-off is finished. So I would just be a bit worried. Last month, I made 22% with only one trade. Wow. What was your risk on that trade? And I mean, that's also, that's why I like being more selective. You know, if you have a higher account capital. So for me, I've got, you know, I have $200,000 in funded account, right? And I was just trying to do my 200, unfortunately, because this month has been pretty poor for me. I failed it. So I'm just about to start a new one because the maximum you can get on those funded is 400 grand. And yeah, unfortunately, I failed it for the first time in a couple of months, 7 months, I think. What was I saying? I can't remember what I was saying. I've just completely lost my chain of thought. Sorry. Last month, I made 22% with only one trade on pound yen. Pound yen, my best ever trade was in euro yen. Oh, sorry. Yes. Being selective. Yeah. Being selective. I was talking about what prop, FTMO. FTMO is the funded company that I personally trade from. I think they're one of the best, to be honest. FTMO, very simple. It is difficult, you know. The first 30 days they require 10%, so you need a bit of luck, you know. And that's why I'm waiting. I'm just waiting until the market gives me a bit more fluidity. I feel a bit more connected to the market before I start this new one, or else you're just throwing 1,300 really down the pan in terms of that 200 grand funded. 400, well, 400 is the max that you can get. So I have 200 grand right now in funded equity, and they just introduced the 200,000 funded. They only used to do a max 100,000, but now they do a 200,000. So the max that they can fund you, so you can only win the maximum of 400,000, but then you can trade off that 400,000 and grow that account, right? So. Yeah, and I wish I knew. I didn't even know about this until a couple of, you know, a year, 3 years into my trading career, and I wish I knew now, because, you know, for $1,300 to get $200,000 in funded equity makes sense, right? So I wish I hadn't put that 80 grand in that account and just sticked it in my bank account and spent $1,300 on a funded account challenge rather than blowing it all. But I think they're great. I always, whenever I speak to new traders, I always say, what is the point of trading off your own money if you can only afford to put 1,000 up to 10,000, potentially even 30, 40,000 in a trading account? I don't personally see what the benefit is there. You know, if you're averaging 2 to 5%, you know, 2-3%, I mean, for me, what is the point of putting $1,000 unless you're learning? You know, if you're a profitable trader, then, you know, it's a different story. But I would only recommend putting what you can afford to lose when you're learning into a trading account, with the goal of saving up your money to buy these funded challenges where your couple percent makes a massive difference. That's my ethos, and it kind of always has been my ethos on trading. So, you know, that $1,000 could be worth $100,000, $1,300 could be worth $200,000 in funded equity, and your 2 to 5% is a decent passive income. They take some, obviously, they take 70% of it, but 70%, they take 30% of your profits. But certainly for me, that's, you know, I prefer doing that. It was 4%. You can say it's a bit much, but I knew that I wouldn't trade much. Yeah, sorry. I talked about it. Yeah, I think being selective for me, I've gotten better at trading the less that I trade. So as I go on and I get more selective, I've gotten better at trading as I go on. Let's have a look at what CAD's Euro Swiss is doing. It's probably going to end up stopping me out. Oh, sorry, it's not Euro Swiss. Oh, and actually, I'll talk about this Euro CAD in a second after I've looked at this. Yeah. Anyway, maybe you're right. Who said that off the pivot point? Maybe you're right. Anyway, that's trading. It's not hit my stop yet. Still got a bit to do. Now, if you've watched my stream, taxes. I live in the UAE, so hell, I don't have any taxes. So yeah, I was brought up here. I've lived here most of my life. We don't have any tax here, thankfully. So I couldn't comment on that, unfortunately, mate. But I presume if you're in a area where you do, you have to factor that in, of course. So EuroCAD, if you have watched my stream before, I have talked about the fact that I yeah, well, you say I'm lucky, but the cost of living out here is unreal. You know, the cost of living in the UAE is kind of an indirect tax in itself. So, you know, although we don't have income tax, etc., you know, how can you get a citizenship? You need a job. You need a visa. So you can't just kind of hop on a plane. You can come here for a holiday, but in order for you to get a citizenship, you need a job, because they give you an employment visa, and you go from there. Anyway, that's getting kind of a bit away from it. So this EuroCAD, I have been looking at or developing a fake out strategy. What happens when you don't make 10%? So for the first 30 days, right, you're supposed to make 10%. If you don't make that, but you pass all their other challenges, so you can't lose a maximum of 5% in one day, you can't lose 10% overall. So if you do that and you have a minimum of 10 trading days, so you've got open position on 10 days. And as long as you finish above 100,000, let's say you're doing 100,000, they have like 20,000 challenges, 50, etc. As long as you finish above 100,000, so you could have 100,001, you get a free repeat for the next month. So I always go into these challenges with the aim or the intention of getting a free repeat, because 10% is difficult, right? 10% is you have to get a little bit lucky, which is why sometimes I like to wait for market conditions until I feel quite confident. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this month, but you know, for my first 100 grand, it took me 4 months to get it. And my ethos is, if you get your 3 to 4%, then you just kind of go for it and need to get a bit of luck. The second part is the verification, where it's 60 days and you need to get 5% over 60 days, which you should do, you know, really as a trader. So, and then you pass that again and you get your account. So that's how they do it. Anyway, getting back to it. Sorry, if you have any more questions, let me know in the chat, and I'll ask about it. So this Euro fake out strategy, it started as an original fake out strategy, and now as I've kind of gone on and developed it, it seems to me the Euro, specifically selling the Euro, seems to be the best bet, right? And I'm looking for these extensions or climactics into level breaks and a catalyst roughly around up here to take this pair short. So there's been a few instances with this Euro, and EuroCAD is a perfect example right now of we've had this. So I had this extension. You can see this gap between the 20 all the way down here, stagnant, and price action. So there's an extension there into a level. Now, as we know, 70% of breakouts fail, right? 70% of breakouts are failed breakouts and come back in. So why don't we find a strategy that helps us profit from that? So this is what I'm looking at. And, you know, as I said, as I've gone on and started back testing this and forward testing it and putting my data in, I found that the euro seems to like a fake. And once it does fake, it really moves in the other direction. So as I started, I look at every currency pair. Now I've dwindled it down purely to the euro pairs. And you can see my catalyst. So I look for simple catalysts. Again, this is not something that I trade at the moment. This is something that's still in development. But, you know, looking for simple catalysts on high volume to take that in the opposite direction, where the premise is, you know, you sell at the market, your stop loss a few pips underneath that candle. And I'm also developing, okay, so where do I put my TP1? You know, probably fake out, would it be under the stop locations? So my idea is to take 2 trades, take one at the first stop location where I think stops are, retail stops are, that are going to get taken out. And second is to use that SAR, parabolic SAR, to trail the rest. Now, I don't use many indicators, as you can see in my charts and my trading, but in terms of trade management, now, you know, before entering a trade, there's no emotional aspect involved, right? You know, you look for the setup and if you get one, fine, but the emotions doesn't come into it. The emotion comes into it after you take a trade. And using things like this, like the SCR, or, you know, I think the SCR is probably the best one out of them all. Just makes it robotic. So, you know, if you get a dot on the other side, okay, I'm out of that trade. And really, if you think about it, the risk reward on these are really good. I had another one. There was another one in Euro NZD. I'll see if I can find it that I was looking at. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was a little bit before, so I'm not sure if I will. I think possibly it was this one here. We had a big push up on the 4-hour level break. Again, hammer here on high volume. And, you know, that ended up going down. So your, again, risk reward is quite good. So that's something I'm developing. It's something I'm quite excited about because I think you can make quite a bit of money on it. The fake out strat. Okay, so I've done my analysis. Did you want me to look at anything else? Any pairs you want me to look at before I go into kind of what I was about to talk about with how I back test? But if you want me to look at anything, shout it out. Shout it out now, and I'll have a gander. So how I back test. So I use a program called TJS, right? Well, TJS and Forex Tester. Sorry, I've lost you guys. Excuse me. Here we go. So TJS is trading journal software, right? And essentially, this is an Excel sheet, a software that you can use to you can use it for back testing, but also you can use it to within your actual trading to get your statistics. I know people use my FX book and stuff, but I always feel the, you know, a bit more satisfaction and learn a bit more when I not write things down, but type things in, and it gives you a whole bunch of data. So Forex, I use software Forex Tester to actually back test my data or back test my strategy. And I input every one of those trades into this software TJS. And every time I back test, I take roughly between 20 or 30 trades because normally after that, I'm kind of bored of it, right? And I do it for each individual currency. The reason why I do that for each individual currency is because each individual currency I feel has its own characteristics. It moves in its own way. You know, pound yen moves in a different way to Euro USD. The Kiwi dollar moves in a slightly different way to the Euro Swiss, etc. So I like to write down notes on what I notice from that. And again, it just takes a little bit of that psychology and makes it more robotic because I know if I see a shift in a particular currency pair when I'm in a trade, if I take it out, I make more money. Whereas in other ones, in other currency pairs, I make more money in the long run. Even if I see a shift in momentum, I don't take it out, right? So that's why I like to see, that's why I like all that data, just to get away from that psychology, because psychology is what's going to make or break you. Make no mistake. There's loads of proven profitable strategies that are easy to use, to implement. My strategy is not that difficult to implement, but psychology is the hardest part. Is there a link you can share for me to backtest as well? Yeah, if you send me a DM on Instagram, my Instagram's rt.forex. I'll share it with you there. So this is what you get. And this is the kind of main thing of what we're looking at. This is your equity curve. Now, for me, this was a good test. This is on USD CAD. Okay, so USD CAD here, we've got our equity curve roughly going in this direction. Ideally, you want that. I mean, this is what you want in terms of your equity curve. I kind of got this. You can see at the end of this test, I probably was getting a bit bored of it, but I recovered quite well. So if you have an equity curve that looks like this, right? You can say to me, well, it's going up, right? But you got to think about the emotional aspect involved between these swings. So you're up a lot and then you're down a lot, then you're up a lot and you're down a lot. You know, again, talk about it. It's mostly a psychological game. So if we ever get to the point where our equity curve is like this, it's much easier to manage, right? And really this test was pretty good for that. So what this showed me is on USD CAD, on this particular test, I had a win rate of 76%, which is very good, but I only had a payoff ratio of 1R. So even though I win more on USD CAD, I don't make as much money per trade, but that's okay because my win rate was quite high. My max drawdown was 6%, which was 3 trades, and my average drawdown was 1%. This is just a trade grade, just what they give you. I don't really understand it, to be honest. So I put in every single trade that I take, entry time, quantity, entry price, stop price, etc. Exit price, profit and loss here. And the good thing about that is when you do this, you can go into your analysis and it gives you all the kind of things you need, from your long trade, number of long trades. So I can see I've got a long bias on USD CAD with 20 trades and only 5 short trades. However, with my short trades, I've won more. I've got a 75% win on my USD CAD. P&L there, payoff ratio, expectancy, frequency, days of the week, which days are my most profitable, trend, counter trend moves, all this kind of stuff, just to give you a really good information on that particular currency pair. So you think how long this took me, considering not only do I do this, I've got the software, but in each individual one of these trades, I do a note like this. So I have my Word document. I've got a picture of the trade. Right, so I take a screenshot of the trade to see what it looks like. I give a trade review. I give a rating, right? So a rating before I even take the trade to see whether I can take it or not. The market environment, with hindsight, how you define the market, losing momentum, etc. All this information on, every single trade. So if I bring this up, excuse me. If I bring this up here, okay, it's not working. But anyway, I've got 20 of these, is what I'm saying. And then, you get all this information. And as you go on and you continue to do this, you might start back testing by, probably your equity curve will probably be like this, right? Because, if you don't have a strategy and just learning it, but your goal is to start it to go from here, potentially here, draw down, and then start to come back up again. And that's why back testing is so key. And that's what turned my trading around, was back testing. And giving me the confidence, giving me the statistics. So even though, let's say this Euro Swiss, I don't even know what it's doing. Even though Euro Swiss stops me out, who cares? It's one trade in many. I have my data here on this is USD CAD, but on my USD Swiss one, that says I'm profitable. So, you're always going to have bad months, and I'm going to have bad months. But what keeps me sane and what keeps me not over risking and over trading is data and information like this, because look, I'm profitable, right? And I can show you another one. Where's the other one? If it decides to come up. Let me just get it, excuse me. So I got another shorter one here on pound yen. Again, 65% win rate. Equity curve is, still good, going like this. That's fine. Payoff ratio was a bit more, but my win rate was slightly lower, which is what you expect from the pound pairs. All right, so all that kind of stuff is basically how I personally back test. And the main thing is it just gets you confidence in your ability It gives you confidence in, you know, your performance and your statistics at the end of the run. So like I said, I'm going through a drawdown right now. I'm going through a bad month, my worst in probably 7 or 8 months. I think so. I maybe even longer than that. But results like this and statistics like this make sure that I'll never blow an $80,000 account again, because, you know, I know it's going to come back. I'm just in this phase. You know, I'm just in this phase. And when you have that good run, you'll make a hell of a lot more money than when you lose. But anyway, some of you are making money this month, which is good. I'm glad. So yeah, if you guys got any questions on it, that's I think that'll be it from me. Hopefully you've got some value out of that about how I back test. I didn't really want to go too much into the markets because, I mean, simply there's not enough. And there you go. For me, I think that's going to get stopped out, I think. But hey ho, that's trading. No more questions. And yeah, if you do, I have a personal goal here for people watching. I'm trying to get to 300 followers on Instagram. So if you want to go follow the Instagram, I'm on 295. That would be very nice. It's at rt.forex. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks again to Nick and A1 Trading for having me on. I'm usually on a Monday. I will be on this Monday, I think. Oh, well, I will be on this Monday. I just wasn't last Monday because I had my second vaccine dose, which kind of hit me for 6. I was in the bed all day. But I will be usually at Monday at this time. So thanks everyone. I appreciate. Good man, Sohail. Good man. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. And hopefully you found some value there. Cheers, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to today's stream. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to follow today's guest, by the way, on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to A1 Trading here on YouTube for more market coverage, trade ideas, and special guests. Our streams are made possible thanks to our sponsors, all of which can be found down below in the description. If you're looking for a new broker, consider checking out the links down below. We've partnered with a few brokers that we think you should check out. By signing up with one of these brokers, our company will receive a small affiliate commission, which does help us stay here on the air creating free stuff for you guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you back in the next one.